So the legend Joe Rogan has got himself into a bit of a war of words with this guy. Stephen A. Smith is a loudmouth who gives hot takes on ESPN. ESPN signed a deal with the UFC, and now he's talking about MMA. He did a post-fight recap with Joe Rogan, and he basically just shit on Donald Cerrone. Joe Rogan didn't rate it very much.
Conor had Cowboy basically done within the first 15, 20 seconds.
Steven, stunning? Is that even, can you say from Conor McGregor it's a stunning win?
Listen, I'm shocked and disappointed. I mean, I don't think he landed a single blow against Conor McGregor. It was like shadow fighting, for crying out loud.
He landed one kick to the arms, and that was basically it. The consensus was the best way that he was going to be able to win was to keep distance and perhaps use his wrestling.
Right. So what Joe's trying to do here is take it back to give credit to Conor.
Yeah, of course.
Rather than shitting on Donald. He doesn't have it. He goes back to shitting on Donald.
Well, that's the interesting side of it, isn't it? Because obviously Joe's worked in the industry for quite a while.
He's friends with all of these fighters.
He's got respect for them.
Yeah.
Whereas Stephen A.
has no respect for what Donald Cerrone did. He said, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
You're not his dad, mate.
No matter how much experience you have that experience. You just ain't ready. And that's how it looked tonight. Cowboy Cerrone just didn't look ready.
And this is the problem with what he's saying, though. And he also says that Donald Cerrone quit. You can be as ready as you like. Sometimes you come up against a much better man on the night. Jose Aldo, never beaten in 10 years. Conor McGregor slept him in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
The same basically happened to Donald Cerrone. He's a very tough fighter, but Conor McGregor has the ability to blitz anyone.
Finds a way.
So the point is he's discrediting Cerrone. The truth of the matter is, if Conor McGregor lands like that on you and head kicks the fuck out of you, it doesn't matter how ready you were before I'm sure he trained hard. And when you're in a position like he's in a suit, on TV, hold the microphone, you have a responsibility to the fighters to show them a certain level of respect.
Yeah.
Now, on a basketball game, you can slay a player like that, and it maybe just flies. Yeah, you have a bad game.
Well,
next week, you have a good game.
Well, that's the interesting thing, because basketball's every 2 days. You can basically swing violently one way, then violently the other.
Exactly. The problem that Stephen A. Smith's going to have, if he doesn't check himself, because he has a huge voice in America, Donald Cerrone could literally just be walking up to him one day and beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Like, these aren't like basketball players. Like, they fight in a cage for a reason. So Joe Rogan's very respectful, because Rogan's had his run-ins with fighters.
Rogan's been checked a few times.
I remember Rampage Jackson back in the long time ago being like pissed off because Rogan was critiquing him in just on his leg kick defense.
To be fair though to Joe, what you do have to acknowledge is when he did think he pissed off a fighter,
he apologized.
But on camera as well, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, he knows he's dealing with savages. He's not dealing with basketball players. This guy with this attitude is going to be in serious problems if he doesn't watch himself.
Probably so, yeah.
So Joe takes him to task on his podcast.
You call the guy a quitter. First of all, he had a broken orbital bone, okay? You saying he was a quitter? He got his face smashed, okay? He got cracked by one of the biggest punchers in the sport.
Yeah.
He has the most wins in the sport. He has the most wins by finish. He has the most bonuses. I mean, come on. He has the most fights.
Joe's right. 100% right.
It's not like losing a basketball game. You've been humiliated. You've been beaten up by another man in the cage. And then you're getting criticised by a man who's never made the walk. For us as fans, making videos on YouTube, we could say what the fuck we want. Stephen A. has a responsibility in that position.
Well, he's been paid so much money. The main issue is the more mainstream that UFC gets, the more of these bad hot takes you're probably going to get around you. And it's going to come to a point where if these men are, real men, so hard, all these kind of things, something might happen with a reporter or something like that. But when you hit the mainstream, like you have to be willing to take a lot more of the rough with a lot more of the smooth. And the problem is for these fighters who have been very protected in a very niche community for quite a long time, they're about to come up to a wave of people, probably like me, who go,
ignorant.
Cerrone was fucking shit or whatever, man.
Yeah.
And we don't know because we don't even watch. We've not been watching for years.
But that's fine from fans, but when reporters start doing it, they're going to come up against a wave of badass mixed martial artists. Stephen A. Smith hit back at him on Twitter, and just to be clear, this is a 3-minute 30 video that he's made, this guy. The main criticism of Stephen A. Smith from Joe Rogan was, you do not in your position come out and call Cowboy Cerrone a quitter. In this 3.5 minutes, not once does Stephen A. Smith address that point at all.
Yeah,
he just skirts around it. Hot air. At the end of this video, I was literally like, you are a waste of space, you.
You've seen Stephen A. Smith before.
Yeah. But like, if someone makes a criticism of you, address it.
Mad respect to Joe Rogan, but you're wrong on this one, my man. Me, Stephen A. Smith, me being at the Conor McGregor fight, against Cowboy Cerrone, saying what I said, that he didn't show us much in 40 seconds.
Not the point he made. Nothing to do with Conor McGregor. The main point was you can't call Cerrone a quitter.
Right.
The subscribers to ESPN Plus, the level of attention that it got, the traffic that it generated in digital and beyond. Check the numbers, number one.
I mean, you know,
What is he on about?
when people say, I mean, well, I think
Is he on about the numbers he brings?
No, I think he's just talking about the ESPN numbers. Of course, people are going to go and watch the fight. It's one of the biggest fights of the year.
Check the numbers. What the fuck is that even about?
I think
it's another irrelevant point.
But he's saying it's
Conor McGregor was fighting, you fuckhead. You could have no commentary, no analysis, and just show McGregor turning up.
It's actually a great idea.
The same amount of people would fucking watch.
I'd actually pay more for that.
People are tuning in for him.
I'd pay more just to see it with no commentary.
I'm Rogan's biggest fan, but everyone knows when McGregor fights, it doesn't matter who the hell's commentating.
Yeah, mute.
I have been a reporter for 25 years. I have covered sports on a variety of competitive levels, regardless of what the sport is.
Sports isn't fighting, not the same thing.
I didn't see enough to convince me that Conor in a rematch against Nurmagomedov, that wouldn't cut it.
That is literally not the point he made on the night.
Yeah.
And that isn't the point that Rogan's disagreeing with him on,
So
realistically.
what you're saying is that Stephen A. Smith...
He's just changing the argument.
Stephen A. Smith goes all over the place.
He's
This is
guy
news.
Is he bipolar? He's all over the place.
No,
yeah.
this is his job.
I've seen him have okay debates on boxing and stuff. Like, he's entertaining because he's just loud and silly.
I think partly his colleagues around him sometimes, they like him, he's a nice guy,
Yeah.
and they tolerate his takes because it also lets them take another position. Sometimes it gets the conversation going.
I get it.
But the problem is for Stephen A, he's coming into a space where there's already a very good, healthy conversation hosted by people like Joe Rogan. They don't really need a Stephen
There's
A.
intelligent conversation.
Yeah, and there's no
he's
need.
coming into a sport way out of his depth. He's being checked by by Yoda.
Yeah, and there's no need
You know,
for him
he's
to
saying
do
to him,
that.
like, just calm the fuck down with your hot takes because we don't do that over here.
Yeah.
We don't shit on a legendary fighter when we're in a position of commentary. We certainly don't just disregard who he was and everything like that. And you got to know some stuff as well. You actually have to know the sport. Now, apparently, this lad's been making efforts to learn fighting.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah. Do you want to see his handwork?
There he is.
I'm sorry.
Stephen A. Smith there, fighting.
That was funny. Leave Joe Rogan alone.